Day 37 started by relaxing on my couch and reading Carpentry Volume 1. Past midday I finished it. Then I took the Electrical and Animal Care from the Skill Books crate, followed by Volume 1 for Tracking and Welding. After depositing the just read Carpentry Manual in the Fire Starters container, I opened a box of nails and took a hacksaw. After that, I went outside to chop down one of the trees in my property. This one yielded 2 logs and I sawed one of them into planks. This action gave me only 1 experience point for each log. Later, I started to sawing also the second log, but was interrupted by an intruder that tried to sneak on me. I was over-encumbered, and to avoid wasting stamina I guided the troublemaker to use the fence before dying by my hand. After taking his watch, I went inside my base to safely saw the second log. Later, from the carpentry supplies crate, I took a ball-peen hammer and added 2 barricades to the hallway window from inside, followed by 2 from outside. I added only 2 planks to each side of the window, in order to not block the line of sight. This is important if you want to see if there are any Zeds outside. Each barricade I added also gave me 3 experience points. At this point was time to reach the window facing the living room and barricade it with 2 planks. While after removing the broken glass from the second window, I noticed that I was out of planks. This is why I went back to my property fence and chopped down 4 extra trees. This made me fall out of breath, and I had to fight 1 Zed that came soon after. Then I was able to fit 2 logs into my backpack and another 3 in my inventory. After going back to the safety of my base hallway, I dropped the 5 logs in front of the storage room. Immediately after I went back to where I chopped down the trees and collected the last 2 logs from the ground, only to add them soon after to the pile inside my base. At this point was time to saw 3 logs and reach the living room where I barricaded the second window. After that I noticed that I stopped gaining weight, so I had to eat a bag of chips to restore that status. Later, I added 2 planks to the window behind the books crates, followed by 2 to the kitchen window. I had enough planks to seal out the external side of it as well, and 1 plank to the second living room window. After sawing down 3 extra logs, I went back to add the last plank to the previous window. For the rest of the wood supplies, I deposited them with the nails inside the carpentry crate. I was too exhausted and tired to do anything else. This is why I decided to go to bed at 8 p.m. I woke up at 7 a.m. and decided to read the 2 magazines I had on me. Then I moved all planks obtained yesterday in its own crate near the barbecue. After taking some water from the sink, I sat on my couch and started reading Electrical Volume 1, and past 6 p.m. I was done. To use the rest of the daylight, I started reading also Welding Volume 1, and after 7 p.m. I had to use my flashlight to keep going. I stopped at 2 a.m. because I was starving to death and my weight gain ended. This is why I ate a lot of junk food until I was full to bursting. Plus I took the rest of the chips bags, followed by some mac and cheese to have on me for later. Then using my flashlight I continued reading Welding Volume 1, and past 6 a.m. I was done, only to start also Animal Care as well. Past 4 p.m. I finished also this book, and after eating 3 bags of chips I started to read Tracking Volume 1. After 7 p.m. I had to use my torch again. This allowed me to finish this book at 4 a.m. Reading for 2 days straight without sleeping made my character really bored. To fix this issue I had to read 2 entertainment books. After depositing everything I read in these days in the fire starters container, it was time to finally sleep and recover my strength. I woke up at 5 p.m. and it was too late to go for a loot run. Instead, I filled my bottle with some water and went in my storage room, from where I started to take out all of the televisions I collected so far, and after placing them in the kitchen, I proceeded in dismantling them all. Dismantling the first 7 allowed me to reach level 1 in electrical. To my surprise, I was able to keep doing this activity even after sunset. When every single television was gone, I noticed that I was close to the second level. This is why I took all of my radios, then, while using my flashlight, I dismantled them all. When I was done, I was also really close to level up electrical. After a quick nap, I found more radios in one of the storage room crates and started dismantling those as well. Past 5 a.m. finally I was able to reach level 2. For this reason, I deposited all of the obtained crafting materials and leftover devices in the electronics crate. After some storage reorganization, I reached my truck and moved the vehicle parts I obtained from the previous loot run inside the ambulance trunk. Then I checked my skill books and noticed that if I could find Electrical Volume 2, I could dismantle every single device I have, considering that I already found the Volume 3 and 4. Keeping this in mind, it was time to go for a loot run, but before I could leave my compound, I had to get out from the vehicle and fight a new spawn that was blocking my way out. After taking his belt, I had to fight another one across the road. At this point, I was finally free to drive forward, but had to stop at the end of the second property to the left side of the road, where I found another troublemaker to deal with. He refused to climb over the fence and forced me to fight regularly. Afterwards, I took the hand fork that was stuck in his back and finally continued my travel. After the turn to the left, I reached the pancake house fence. In front of it, I had to fight a Zed that was close to the light pole. A little bit further, I took the turn to the left, and near the fourth property I noticed some enemies. They were slow, and guiding them across the fence, I dealt with both of them easily. While going back to my truck, I was intercepted by other two. That wasn't hard to deal with. After taking one belt, I reached the road, and a little bit further, I noticed another enemy. I forced him to use the fence, so I could kill him fast and save energy in the process. Soon after, 3 extra came to die. This group had for me a large knife to loot. Later, I heard more to the south, and after I made sure that they saw me, I jumped over the fence. Seconds after they were both dead. Going back to the previous location, I was able to catch the attention of another group. This allowed me to dispose of them quickly using the fence. Reaching the entrance of the house, I noticed more incoming from the south. But this time I went inside the house in order to use the window as my weapon. This resulted in killing another 3 easily. In front of this house in the trash bin, I found a plastering trowel. Then, checking the map, I noticed that the buildings to the east aren't looted yet. While after closing it, I had to retreat to the fence, so I could kill a Zed that tried to ambush me. The fight brought another group of 2 that I killed promptly. After that, I wanted to move the truck closer to the unexplored buildings, but had to exit in order to fight a Zed that was chasing me. At this point, I was finally able to drive to the last buildings to loot along the right side of the road, and had to kill one of their inhabitants near the tall wooden fence. Later it was time to check the house. The first loot was on the dinner table, and it was a radio. Before picking it up, I took its battery. There was only another item to loot from this house, and it was a baking tray from the bedroom floor. After taking some water from the bathroom sink, it was time to sign this location as looted. At this point, I was already tired, and to be ready to push into enemy territory, I decided to take a nap in the bedroom. I woke up close to 8 p.m. and went to check the garage of this property. The only useful loot was on the ground, and it was a can opener I can add to my key ring. After that, I moved toward the shed to the south. But before I can check it out, I had to kill a zombie nearby. Then I was able to force the side window and access this way the shed. All of its loot was in the wall metal shelf, from where I was able to obtain a steel sheet, a steel bar half, an ear protectors, and a draw plate. Leaving the shed, I noticed another enemy to its left, while a few seconds after, another one came from the east. Going in that direction, I found a steel sheet inside a crate. As soon as I took that loot, more started to reach my location. One by one, I was able to drop all 4 of them like flies. At this point, it was time to sign the shed and garage as looted. Then I had to close the map because I heard a Zed breaking inside the house. Following the noise, I found him inside the bedroom. Next, I opened again the map and signed the water catcher location I found near the crate I looted before. I didn't want picking it up right now, because at level 0 of carpentry, the chances to break it are too high. Later, while leaving the bedroom, I heard someone else climbing through its window, so I had to go back and deal with the intruder. After that, I changed idea about the rain collector and took a hammer from my truck tool storage. Then I tried to pick up the rain catcher. Despite the chances to break, it was 75%. I was pleased to see that I was able to pick it up without breaking it. Happy with what just happened, I went back to my vehicle and unloaded everything in its trunk. Then I drove backwards until I reached the crossroad and turned to the right. I parked at the beginning of the gated community. Leaving the car, I had to fight a group of 2 that charged me soon after. One of them had a digital watch for me to loot. After that, 5 more fell in my fence trap. One of my victims had a machete in perfect condition stuck in his back. Then I was approached by a new group of 4. 2 of them fell in the trap, while the others walked around trying to outflank me. But I was able to push them to the ground, and after a little bit of struggle, I was able to kill them all. I thought my surroundings were clear and went to check the first house to the right. But I was proven to be wrong once I noticed another Zed chasing me from the north. After killing him, 2 extra came to die. Then I heard someone banging on the door of the house I tried to access previously. This is why I opened the entrance door and guided him to his grave on the other side of the fence. Soon after, I was inside and heard someone else banging on the bathroom door. After killing him, it was time to explore this building. The first loot was in the half bookshelf in the living room, and it was made of 2 entertainment magazines. I also picked up the television near the shelf. Then from the bedroom drawer, I obtained 2 TV remote controllers and an adhesive tape. While moving to the kitchen, I had to deal with an intruder that tried to sneak on me. Then after closing the door, I opened the window to let the second to climb through and die by my mallet. Immediately after, I started to loot the kitchen from the fridge that had a cartoon of cow's milk, followed by a fork in the first drawer. This item is used in several cooking recipes, and the first to came to mind is to make pancakes. After taking it, I found also a spare bottle opener and a beer in the last cupboard. At this point, it was time to leave the building. On my way toward the enemy in the middle of the road, I was ambushed by another one that was hiding behind the trees. I dodged his grab and ran back inside the building. After climbing through the window, I blindly attacked him but missed, and I was pushed away in the process. To not risk it, I had to light up the flashlight and deal with the troublemaker. A few seconds after, another one climbed through the window, but this time I was able to one-shot the intruder. Later, moving back to my vehicle, I found some loot in the garbage bin, and it was a piece of copper scrap. Not sure about what it's used for, but I took it anyway. Checking the mailbox nearby, I also found a magazine that allowed to forge several metalworking materials and tools parts. Finally, it was time to unload the new loot in the car trunk. I was interrupted by a Zed that came from the northeast, followed by another one from the west. The fight attracted more, and I had to fight a group of 2, incoming from the northeast. The first was easy to deal with, while the second pushed me away. After some struggle, I punished him for this, and in the process leveled up my maintenance skill. Later, another one came to die, and he even gave me his steak knife as compensation for my time. Finally, I was able to finish unloading my loot. Then I found in the trash bin nearby a piece of scrap metal. At this point, I felt safe to open the map and sign the previous building as looted. Then I turned around and went inside the next home to explore. The first loot was a radio on top of the half bookshelf, followed by the television from the living room. On the ground in front of it, I even found a carving volume 2 skill book. Once collected that loot, I heard some zombie noises, and to play it safe left the building. Searching around, I found one to the southeast that let himself go by climbing the fence in front of me. Going back to my car, I found another one incoming from the northeast. 2 more came from different directions, but they were no match for me. Finally, it was quiet again, and I decided to go back inside the previous house to finish looting. This allowed me to find just a muffin tray and a dented, unlabeled can of food on the ground in the kitchen, plus a VHS about woodcraft and a butchering volume 2 skill book. The last loot was in the bedroom drawer from where I obtained a TV remote, followed by an adhesive tape on the ground in front of it. Despite it was risky, I decided to pass the night in this house and used its bed to sleep through the night.